Welcome back, boys and girls. It is lucky week 13 of the college football season, better known as Wivalwy week, better known in some parts as Karma week, and it's coming for you, Jim Harbaugh, and your gold standard of ethics in college football. It's the Carla and Crappy show. I am Crappy, that is Carla, and Carla, the real fun is here. It is finally here.
It is. This is almost as good as bowl week. Almost, although I will say this year, when we were looking at the games, I was kind of like, yeah, this week had so much potential. And
that's true.
Now there's some games I'm just kind of like, oh, I wish this game was going to be good, because I don't think it's going to be, but it's a rivalry game and it's Thanksgiving and this is what we do. So
it is, and this is
even if the games aren't, yeah.
This is a lot like week 0 or the first weekend or those whatever we call that stuff, because it is like a mini bowl season. There are games for 3 days or 4 days or 12 days or something. I don't know how many games. I think they start on Thursday.
And a pear tree.
And a partridge in a pear tree. They start on Thursday night, go through Saturday. If you don't want to watch the NFL, don't. You don't have to. Although I'll probably be watching the Niners on whenever they play on Thursday, just because. But it's just it is a fantastic weekend in college football. And in many cases still. What happens this weekend will determine what happens next weekend. Next weekend, of course, championship week. Championship week. But this weekend, we're gonna talk about some of the games that are generally a big deal, but perhaps are not this week, or games that and then we have some other games that we're going to talk about for real, and then we have one game that I'm absolutely freaking out over, to the surprise of no one. But before we get there, Jim Harbaugh, let's talk about last weekend. Carla, what did you see?
Yes. Well, we don't have a flag, so I'm just going to wave a Kleenex because that's what I have here.
Okay.
This is my fly the CUSA flag.
The CUSA flag. There it is. That looks a little bit like you're surrendering, Carla. You don't want to do that.
I know. It's all I had here. For those of you that aren't aware of the situation, like we were scheduled to record this and my power went out, and so we had to pause, and so everything I wanted to have ready for the show, I realized I don't have, so I'm ad-libbing here, but It's all good.
Okay.
But yes, fly the dang CUSA flag if there is one, and there's not, so we should make one. New Mexico State, baby, goes to Auburn.
That's
gets
crazy.
Paid $1.85 million and absolutely crushes the Tigers in Jordan Hare 31-10. And that game was not close at all. New Mexico State dominated that game. They've got a really interesting game this week because they play Jacksonville State this week. Jacksonville State, that's spicy.
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Jacksonville State was actually eligible, because they just came up, so they're not eligible for postseason or bowl games or anything, that would be a hell of a game. It's still gonna be a hell of a game.
Yes.
But that would potentially be for the rights to go to the CUSA title game. So but anyhow, so kudos to New Mexico State for finally doing something good for CUSA this season, getting us on the map. That's a really good thing.
Absolutely. Jerry Kill's fantastic. By the way, he's the head coach at New Mexico State. He was a coach in the Big Ten at Minnesota, and I learned enough about him that he is truly a nice guy, a good person, and a good coach. He brought Minnesota back from the dead when he was there.
Yep.
And it looks as though he is doing the same thing at New Mexico State. So congratulations to Coach Kill. That is a fantastic win for him and his program.
Yeah, and like I said, that's one of those signature conference wins that like a conference needs to be able to like start making waves, right? And so
absolutely,
to get a win like that is such a big deal for the CUSA, which you could argue is the weakest of all of the Power Five, or not, or the
Group of Five.
FC Group of Five. Yeah, that's what I mean. you could rank them probably at number 10, really, to be honest, because the Sun Belt is really good now.
Yes. Yeah.
The American has stepped up. So like being the bottom dwellers and to be able to make that kind of a statement on a national stage, love it. Thank you, Jerry Kill. Thank you, Aggies. So much other good stuff this weekend. I want to take some credit for something I threw into our show thread in our text messages. When it suddenly occurred to me when I checked the Florida Mizzou score and saw that the Gators were up 7-0, and I flipped over to that game because my husband was interested in it, obviously, and I heard Joe Tessitore on the call, and I went, "Oh crap, this game's going to get real interesting." Right. Because if you don't know that legend, anytime Tess calls a football game, it goes bonkers. He has that reputation of just calling almost as much as Gus Johnson. Like Gus Johnson's kind of the extreme of that, but when Tess is calling a game, get your spidey senses up. And it happened. That game was ridiculous. Until, and the Gators almost pulled that off until they just kind of decided not to play defense on that last series. Like, I don't know what they were doing.
Right.
Mizzou made that look way too easy. And they have one of the best kickers in the country. I mean, we've seen that before. So they just had to get within firing distance to be able to hit that one. And I mean, he hit that one without any problems. So, heartbreaking loss for the Gators for a number of reasons. I'll get into that here in a little bit. And then still Arizona, Kansas State, ain't nobody want to play them right now.
No, absolutely not.
No, the Power Cats rallied from an 11-point deficit in the second half to beat Kansas. Arizona, boat raced Utah. That game stunned me.
That was a beating.
It was. And I didn't expect that. I expected that game to be good and close. I did not expect Arizona to just go in and absolutely dominate that game. So yeah, if you're going to a bowl game this year, pray that the other side of that bowl game is not Kansas State or Arizona.
You don't want any part of it.
It's not going to end well for you if that's the case. Obviously, the best game of the weekend was Arizona and Oregon State, and the fact that game was played in a torrential downpour for most of it, just kind of added to the mystique.
Yeah.
Washington survived. That was a really great game. But finally, also, what a time to be alive. Northwestern is bowl eligible. And I'll end my recap with that.
Yes. That's fantastic. I had an opportunity, a rare opportunity to do nothing but watch football on Saturday. And my viewing schedule went something like this: Michigan, Maryland, Cornell, Columbia, Ohio State, Minnesota, the Nebraska, Wisconsin eligibowl. App State, James Madison. I watched the last bit of that game. Washington, Oregon State, and then somewhere in there I fell asleep on the couch. So and they're all fantastic games. Nebraska Scotty was just a perfect example of what that game should have been. And I'm happy for Luke Fickell to get the Badgers Bowl eligible after a kind of rough season. Injuries have given them all kinds of problems. Washington, Oregon State was as good as advertised. And I missed on my pick, Carla, while you did not. I was happy it was tight. It was a tight game. Kyle McCord had an okay day for Ohio State, but Trey Henderson was fantastic. Marv was Marv. Even though Minnesota basically had a corner and safety following him on every single play. You see your suggestion for the game of the week and raise you Appy and James Madison.
Yeah, that one, I forgot to write that one down, but yeah, that was incredible.
I forgot to write it down too, and I'm like, there was another game that I want to talk about, and I just remember this as it was going through my notes. That overtime game, and it's how many times is Appalachian State going to do this? How do they do this? We just typed in our text thread. This is what they do. Appy State is doing what Appy State does, and they went in. I still absolutely think James Madison should be allowed to play for the Sun Belt for the Sun Belt title and should be able to go to a bowl game. I think Jacksonville State should the same thing. They've had an incredible year. We talked about them in like week 1 of this season.
It was week 0.
It was week 0.
It was their first game up, and they played Louisiana Tech, and I figured they were going to get steamrolled by La Tech, and they went out and did the opposite.
Yes.
And they've just been on a roll ever since. So yeah, I totally agree with you. James Madison absolutely should be championship eligible and bowl eligible, and Jacksonville State should also be championship eligible and bowl eligible. This is garbage. If you play that well coming up for your first year, you deserve it more than anybody else.
Yes, absolutely. Rich Rod has a great thing going at Jacksonville State, and James Madison's just had a fantastic season, and the loss to Appalachian State does not tarnish that in one bit. But that was that is Appy State doing Appy State things, and I just a fantastic game, and I was glad to get in the fourth quarter of that. Cornell, the Big Red Bears had a rough day losing to rival Columbia in the Empire State Bowl. That is the actual name. The final score was 29-14. The Big Red Bears finished the season 3-7 overall and 2-5 in the Ivy League. Cornell had a really hard time running the football Saturday. Even the scrambles by quarterback Jamison Wong were limited. That no exception for starting running back and my nephew Drew Powell. He had 5 carries for a grand total of 2 yards on a day. When the whole team netted 33 yards on the ground. However, and man, I would have loved to see this see the team make this discovery earlier in the season. He had his best day catching the football: 6 receptions, 48 yards, including a long of 14. Nice. I haven't had a chance to talk to Drew since then, but it had to be a pretty cool experience for him. Cornell does the whole senior day thing with parents on the field, and his not only were his parents there, but as I mentioned a week ago, his entire family made the trip to Ithaca. So got to do the thing on the field, got to see his brother and younger sister. I'm sure the season was disappointing to him, especially after a 2-0 start that included a win over Yale, which is the eventual co-champion of the Ivy League this year. But I hope, and he will be able to look back on this and be proud of what he's accomplished at Cornell. And that, boys and girls, I will always pay attention to what Cornell's doing, but that is your final Big Red Bears report.
That's crazy.
It is. It really is, and it's kind of sad. And I just caught a little thing in my throat right there. Wivalwy week is not limited to the big boys, boys and girls. And AJ is here to tell you what he's going to be paying attention to as we get into the week 13 slate. AJ, what you got?
Hello, everyone. It is this week's Group of 5 After Dark report, and I would like to wish everyone a very happy Wivalwy week to all those who observe. We're going to start on Thursday. It's Thanksgiving night, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. It's the Egg Bowl. I mean, it's in Starkville. Where else am I supposed to start? I guess the question for you. Don't watch the NFL. The Niners are playing the Seahawks. It doesn't matter. Watch the Egg Bowl because it's better. This is just a factual statement. This is a top 10 annually dumbest game of the year. It doesn't matter that Ole Miss is very much better than Mississippi State. They're favored by 10.5. It doesn't matter. This game gets stupid, and it's in Starkville. This is the best Thanksgiving dessert. I'll take it over pumpkin pie. Let's go to Black Friday, noon, CBS, Iowa at Nebraska. I'm sorry, I couldn't keep a straight face there. Nebraska needs to win to get into a bowl. Iowa locked up the Big Ten West last week, and they're playing for their 10th win. Brian and his dad hugged on the field. It was actually a touching moment. It was actually really nice. They gave Brian Ferentz a Gatorade bath for scoring 15 points. All of this is real and true factual statements that you can go look up and watch for yourself. The past few weeks, though, we've been focused on the fun index for Iowa games because of how low they've been going. And y'all, I'm proud to announce that they've topped themselves, and the fun index for this game is a full 26.5 points. Hammer the under. It's going to be one of those games. This is going to end 8 to 5.5 somehow. There's like a new rule that will be invented that 5.5 points will be allowed to be scored. It's the lowest in the modern era. Hammer the under. This will be on at noon on Friday. There's a number of other games that I will get to on Friday, but they have conference implications, and I want to make sure that we kind of button those all together. So I'm going to skip down to 8:30 p.m. on Fox. We have Oregon State at Oregon. Oregon's favored by 13.5, fun index of 62.5. This should be a hell of a game. Oregon State had the Pacific Northwest rain gods on their side and still couldn't beat Washington. They had a few chances. They were running the ball well. They had Washington's offense kind of on lockdown for a while. They just couldn't get over the hump. But this is the last Civil War for a while, as far as we know, and it might be an all-timer. Oregon, seems to be on an absolute mission this year. Like, they are beating the brakes off of everyone they get their hands on. And outside of a top 3 game of the year against Washington, they would be an almost guaranteed lock for the playoff. I don't think anybody would be questioning Oregon's resume. I think the Beavs still keep this incredibly close, but the Ducks pull away at the end. They need to just go ahead and make the Civil War a permanent out-of-conference game. They just need to do this. We'll talk about what Washington did in a moment. We move to Saturday, and at noon, the biggest game of the year. It has never been bigger than this. We have number 2 win UConn at number 3 win UMass. UConn's favored by 2.5. This is the best game at noon by a mile, because both of these teams are playing for pride at this point. Like, there are other games with a 2 and a 3 next to them that are playing for something much bigger, right? They're playing for a division title, a conference championship berth, a likely conference championship, a playoff spot. All of the things that make a big game a big game. This game is bigger. These teams are playing to save face after a disappointing year. And beating your rival is what you live for, so I'll be watching this. At 3 p.m. on ESPN Plus, we have another rivalry game, another spicy game. We have ULM at ULL. So that's Louisiana Monroe at Louisiana Lafayette. ULL is playing for bowl eligibility. That's a big thing, because their season has not gone, I think, the way they wanted it to go. But this game is spicy every year. It's a very stupid game. It's the north and the south of Louisiana in a battle with each other. It's very fun. ULL is being favored by 12. That's a lie. I smell an upset. ULM wins this one. Just putting that out there. 3:30 p.m. on ESPN, we have Arizona at Arizona State. It's the Territory Cup, y'all. Let's go. The records, throw them out. Hatred, let it in. This is a very fun and stupid game. Arizona State is playing for pride at this point. They have had a ton of injuries. They had a graphic during the Oregon game last week where it showed like this was the week 1 offensive line lineup and this is the current offensive line lineup, and it was completely different faces. They have had turnover on their line from injury. They're on their like 3rd or 4th string quarterback. They're trying their best out there, and Kenny Dillingham is trying literally everything. At one point, he put in like a swinging gate play because they watched it on YouTube. Just putting that out there. That's a thing that they did. You need to watch this game. Jed Fish also has it rolling in Tucson. Arizona could potentially go 9 wins for the first time since 2014. This is a big deal, and I don't think Arizona necessarily forgot that Arizona State hung a 70 burger on them a few years ago. So I imagine they're going to want to get that one back. Just putting that out there. 3:30 p.m. on the ACC network, we have Virginia Tech at Virginia. It's Commonwealth Cup. Let's go. Again, we're playing for pride in Charlottesville. Got to beat your rival. Virginia Tech, this has happened a few times recently where Virginia Tech is like at the end of the year and they've had like an up and down year, but then here comes the Commonwealth Cup for bowl eligibility for Virginia Tech. This is an incredibly stupid rivalry And it's very bedlam in a way, in that anything can happen, like Virginia Tech winning by a little or a lot. They are, like, the series is heavily in Virginia Tech's favor. It's 60-38 right now, I believe. This should be an emotional game for the Hoos. They were supposed to play this last year, but due to the tragedy of the shooting that was on campus, they did not play this game. So this is the first time since 2021 that they've played this game. And they've kept it close over the last 5 times they've played. I expect more of that. 4 p.m. on Fox, we have the Washington State Cougars at the Washington Huskies. It's Apple Cup season, too. This is locked into 2028. They just announced this on Monday, the 20th, that they have announced at a minimum, playing the Apple Cup every year, home and home, through 2028. This is a great thing. This is what should happen. Oregon should do the same thing with Oregon State. These are the in-state rivalries. This is what the people in your state care about. Make sure that these games still get played even when conference, realignment and changes and stupid things happen. This is a very big deal for the Wazoo side. Washington is looking past Washington State towards the Pac-12 title game and possible playoff. Washington State wants to beat Washington and ruin their season. And I'm here for it. They started out the season with incredibly high hopes. It's all come crumbling down. They got a huge win over Colorado last week, but this Husky team is going to eat them alive. Also, Washington fans brought out a Big Ten flag at the Oregon State game last week. That was just rude, and I hope Washington State makes them pay for that. 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus. I'm only mentioning this game because of a result that happened last week that was hilarious. We have Jacksonville State at New Mexico State. If Jacksonville State were eligible for the conference title, this would be a play-in game. Both teams are 6-1 in conference, but Jacksonville State, coming up from FCS, is not allowed to play for a conference championship game, which is stupid, NCAA. Same thing with James Madison. They should also be playing for a conference championship, and I'll get to why them not being able to makes this way stupider for the Sun Belt, but sure. New Mexico State might have themselves a little bit of a letdown look-ahead sandwich here because they beat Auburn by 3 touchdowns in Jordan-Hare. It's a real thing that happened. Auburn fans had to watch Jerry Kill in New Mexico State win by 3 touchdowns. A thing that happened in Auburn, Alabama. It's incredible. I'm still giggling from last week. And they're playing for a conference championship next week. I hope they don't have a letdown look-ahead sandwich here, but it's on the menu for sure. At 7 p.m., I need y'all to put your glasses in the air, and then I need you to turn them sideways and pour some out, because it's the last ever game on the Pac-12 network. What do you think could be the last game? Could be anything. Could be like a Utah game. Could be like a Cal situation. Nope, it's Notre Dame at Stanford. That's right. The Pac-12 network is being shut down by Notre Dame. This is all stupid. It's amazing. It's the last game ever on the Pac-12 network. Notre Dame's going to win this by a lot, but no one's going to see it. And the Pac-12 network's going to go off to the great cable box in the sky. Godspeed, Pac-12 Network. Your graphics package was the best, and the people who called your games were pretty great, too. 7:30 p.m. on a network that will be around for a while, the SEC Network, Clemson at South Carolina. South Carolina could put Dabo on the hot seat with a win here. Dabo and Clemson have not lost more than 4 games since 2011. 2011 actually is when they lost 4 games. They haven't lost more than that since 2019 or 2009, 2010, and we're into the Tommy Bowden era. This gets Dabo's seat real spicy. If South Carolina wins, a thing that Clemson fans do not like to have happen, and it puts them back to like 2008 feelings, it's going to be gross. And there's nothing more that South Carolina fans would love to do than get Dabo out of Clemson, because he's been owning them for the last decade and change. So, hey, that's happening. 8 p.m. ACC Network. We have UNC at NC State. Everybody looks at Duke UNC as the big rivalry. UNC NC State is the much better one. The fan bases overlap a lot more. Yes, all of those places are within 20 minutes of each other, but UNC and NC State fans and alumni overlap a lot more than Duke alumni does. A Duke alumni goes back to New Jersey. So this should be a banger. These two teams really don't like each other, and they don't like losing to each other. because it just leads to people putting pictures into PowerPoint presentations at company all-hands events. I'm not saying I saw this. I'm saying I saw this every single quarter. It was great. I loved it. Let's check in on the late slate. It's a light one. You should stay up. We have the last Hawaii test of the night, but at 10:30, ESPN, Cal at UCLA. UCLA coming off a massive win against USC. They beat the crap out of USC. But this could be a hard come down, and Jaden Ott and Cal would like to beat them up about it. Cal beat Stanford in the big game last week, and Cal needs this win for a bowl, so this might get actual spicy. 10:30 p.m. on FS1, we have Fresno State at San Diego State. Fresno State has fallen apart, and it's largely due to the fact that their quarterback, in their last two games, he took a big hit against San Jose State 2 weeks ago and did not look right. After that, they started their backup against New Mexico, and he did not play well. Mikey Keene tried to come in, their starter, tried to come in with concussion-like symptoms and did not play well there. Maybe with another week, he gets it right against San Diego State, but Hoke's on his way out, so the team's probably going to try and send him off with a win at home, so this one might be closer than you'd think. And at 11 p.m. on the Team One Sports app, Colorado State at Hawaii, my beloved Bows got shellacked by Wyoming. They went to Laramie and it was cold, and I don't blame them. So Colorado State, though, they've continued their chaos play. They've won 2 games back-to-back, and they're playing for a bowl on the islands. So just go ahead, put this game on, let the islands and the Honda commercials wash over you, and it's one last time this season. You don't have to do it after this, I promise. You'll have to do it next season, but not this time. Anyways, let's get to conference game implications. We have to go through the last 3 conferences that have not really settled their title games yet. We're going to start with the American. I want to say that I've done a lot of math and spreadsheeting to figure this out because the tiebreakers are weird and they're going to involve computers. So, Friday at 3:30 on ABC, we have UTSA at Tulane. Tulane's favored by 3. Saturday at noon, we have ESPN 2, Navy at SMU. SMU's favored by 20. These are AAC championship play-in games. Tulane and UTSA are both 7-0 in conference. The winner is guaranteed a spot in the championship game and probable home field advantage. But you know who else is 7-0? That's right, it's SMU. They play Navy at noon, and they're heavily favored to win. Here's how the championship game scenarios break down. If UTSA and Navy win, UTSA plays Tulane. If UTSA and SMU win, SMU plays UTSA. And if Tulane wins, Tulane plays SMU. For UTSA and Tulane, this is a must-win game. You have to win this game to get in. For SMU, they need Tulane to win, and then they need to go beat Navy. Home field advantage will be determined by the CFP rankings. So hopefully one of these two teams is ranked higher than the other in the college football playoffs. If neither teams are ranked, it goes to the computer rankings. And if you remember our good friends at the BCS, those computer rankings never went away. They're just on the internet now. But now they'll be used to determine home field advantage and or who goes to a championship game in a division. Hooray! We've got the BCS at a regional level. By the way, and if you didn't understand all that, good. We'll tell you all about what actually happened next week. So watch these games. Let's go to the Mountain West. Friday at 4 p.m., we have FS1, Air Force at Boise State. Boise's favored by 6.5. Saturday, 3 p.m. on themw.com. That's the Mountain West website. San Jose State at UNLV. UNLV is favored by 3. The Mountain West brings the season to a close with the top 4 teams in the conference playing to go to the championship game. They couldn't have scripted this better, but they did it. UNLV is 6-1 in conference. Boise, San Jose, and Air Force are all 5-2. If UNLV beats San Jose State, they're in and they host the championship game. On Friday, Air Force goes to Boise with the winner remaining in the championship game hunt. Air Force is on a 3-game losing streak after being 8-0. Army broke them something fierce. They could not hold on to the ball against Army, and they couldn't hold on to the ball against Hawaii. And then last week, UNLV was just truly the better team. Boise is on an upswing, even though they just fired their coach. And I believe they seemingly did not want him to win out and keep his job. Like, firing your coach after winning the conference championship, probably not what you want to do. I think there were a lot of boosters who wanted him gone, so they fired him now. Boise still has a shot to win the conference championship. This should be a heavy running game for both teams on the blue turf. So if you want to watch people slam into each other, go do this game. On Saturday, UNLV hosts San Jose State. If UNLV wins, they're in. If San Jose State wins, though, this becomes a three-way tie with the winner of Air Force and Boise for the top of the standings. UNLV, though, has been playing incredibly well. But San Jose State is actually a very good team. Their record belies what they actually are. They should have beaten Air Force and Boise, but they blew multiple touchdown leads against both of them. So keep an eye on this. If San Jose State upsets UNLV, UNLV plays the winner of Air Force Boise based on computer rankings, as UNLV didn't play Boise, so there's no head-to-head game to use in the first tiebreaker. This sucks for San Jose State that they can't get in, but they are bowl eligible, and they seemed incredibly happy about that last week after beating San Diego State. Both of those games should be great. You should keep an eye on that. And finally, we have our beloved Sun Belt. The Sun Belt West, completely locked up for Troy. They're in the game, in the championship game, and they're likely hosting, and I'll get to why it's likely and not guaranteed. The question here is in the East. If JMU was eligible, they would be in the driver's seat for the East, and this would be fine, but they're not. They're ineligible because they came up from FCS, again, a stupid rule, but they would be in the driver's seat, and they're not. So here's how it lays out. Coastal Carolina and App State are currently 5-2 in conference. Old Dominion is 4-3. At 3:30 on ESPN2 on Saturday, we have JMU at Coastal Carolina. At 3:30 p.m. on ESPNU, we have Georgia Southern at App State. If Coastal wins, they're in the title game. App State needs a Coastal loss and to beat Georgia Southern to make the title game. If they both lose, Coastal gets in because they beat App State in October. Troy hosts the championship game by beating Southern Miss, and if they lose, they still likely host the game based on computer rankings because they're ranked so much higher than any of the other teams, and even a loss doesn't pull them down far enough to flip that. But there's a lot of things going on this weekend. It's rivalry weekend. Records go off the shelf, out of the window. Find out how this all shakes out next week during championship week, and I'll send it back to Carla and Crappy in the studio.
Thank you, AJ. We are looking forward to those games. I'm just hoping to be able basically to watch football for 3 straight days.
Right, and it's worth mentioning that what you just heard from AJ involved multiple spreadsheets. Just so that you're all aware, like AJ created multiple spreadsheets to be able to do his Group of 5 report this week. AJ, kudos to you.
we are taping this a day early. And I should, while I'm thinking about it, I should mention the rankings that I will announce as we're going through our regular picks are prior to this week's fresh CFP rankings. So these are last week's numbers. It's Thanksgiving week. We both have stuff to do, so we're taping on Monday. That's how it goes, people, and you're gonna have to like it.
And football starts early.
It starts. So yeah, I know.
We need. You want to have this to take with you on your travels because let's be real, for all of us, Wednesday's going to be the longest travel day ever because everybody travels on Wednesdays. So you're going to want to take this with you. So here you go. Our Thanksgiving gift to you.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for checking. Everybody have a good night. I'm kidding. This is a traditional rivalry game weekend. And there are a ton of rivalry games that play on the last season, the last week of the regular season, but they're not always the kind of huge consequential things that we want to see. Some of them are kind of silly. Some of them are sort of just circumstances. They can be letdowns. Letdowns. What would that be?
Is it like attorneys general?
I think it's something like that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes a rivalry game can just work out to feel like just another game. But there are a few examples of that that we wanted to take a very, very quick look at, starting at, and this kicks off the college football weekend, the Egg Bowl. It's the Mississippi's at 7:30 on Thanksgiving night. State is coachless. Lane Kiffin has only lost to Georgia and Bama. We're not necessarily making picks for this game, but if you're making a pick, this one seems pretty easy, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know, at Mississippi State, I'll be real curious how they handle this situation. They got nothing to lose here, right? And so that sometimes makes these rivalry games really interesting. So pay attention to this game. It's the only college game on Thursday night.
Right.
As we say every year, fix yourself a plate of leftovers. For me, it's always a giant bowl of mashed potatoes. So giant bowl of mashed potatoes, park your butt in front of the TV, forget about that other football league, and watch some traditional college football rivalry action, even if the game is stupid, because that's what we do. Right. So just enjoy it. Enjoy the football.
Enjoy the football. Speaking of leftovers, at noon on Friday, Kelly, my wife, found this recipe for you make waffles out of your leftover stuffing, and then turkey, turkey, cranberry sauce, gravy on top of that.
Ooh.
How does that sound?
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
Right. I am predicting. If I can find our waffle maker, I am predicting that's what we're having for breakfast on Friday. And I will be recovering from that food coma at noon when my Bobcats play Akron on CBSSN, the Network of Champions. But the game most of you will be interested in watching at that point is the Heroes Trophy game between Iowa and Nebraska. The Hawkeyes, as you are aware, have already clinched the West. The Huskers need a win to go bowling. Carla, did you know that a $98 and a visit to rivalrytrophy.com will get you a replica of the Heroes Trophy, your very own Heroes Trophy for your living room?
I did not know that.
I did not until a little while ago.
Yeah, that's spectacular. I would be all over that. The more interesting thing, did you see the fun index for this game?
I did not. Do
you want to take I'm pulling it up right now. Do you want to take a guess as to what the fun
35.
Lower. It's the lowest fun index that we have ever had on the Carla and Crappy show.
Okay, what's the number?
The fun index for this game, 26.5.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
26.5. That's as of Monday. So my notes for this game say, if you get up early, if you're one of those people that stays up crazy late and goes and takes advantage of the Black Friday sales, and usually if you're one of those people, you're home by noon, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a great game to take a nap to. Because you can sleep for an entire quarter and you're not going to miss anything.
This could come with a Surgeon General's warning. Good Lord. Well, okay. I did not dive that deeply. I got sidetracked because I knew that there was a trophy for this game and it was like, okay, Heroes Trophy, Google that, came across rivalrytrophy.com. Oh, so Carla, do not be surprised if your Christmas gift shows up sometime in the next month with a replica of the Heroes Trophy that you
Should
guys
that be
can
our
place.
Bowlapalooza trophy this year?
Oh my God. No, I like the Pirates bobbleheads are so cheap.
And so appropriate.
Oh man. Another game that sort of fits into this category, and it could be sneaky good because you don't know. We already talked about the fact that Auburn lost at home to New Mexico State last weekend.
Yes.
They did that going into the Iron Bowl when they host Alabama at 3:30 on Saturday. Carla, do you see anything here except for an absolute massacre?
I wish I could say yes. Up until last weekend, I would have said Auburn had the potential of making this interesting.
Yeah.
But no. You can't lose to New Mexico State and try to keep an even toe with Alabama. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Maybe they can keep it interesting for a little bit just because they're playing at home, rivalry and the Iron Bowl, and yada yada yada. But no, this is going to be an absolute dominant Tide win.
And then I didn't want to skip over this one, although it's a little bit out of chronological order. The greatest rivalry trophy in college football will be awarded following the game that begins at 7:30 p.m. on Friday in East Lansing. Carla, it's the Land Grant Trophy. It's
the glory of the Land Grant Trophy. And as I mentioned last week on the show, I showed a picture of this to my students who don't follow college football. Most of them aren't aware of how all this trophy stuff works. Right. And I told them that it was the greatest trophy in all of college football because it looked like it had been assembled at random from a yard sale. And they didn't believe me. And then I pulled up a picture and put it up on my projector, and they all went, "Oh my God, what is that?" I was like, "It's the greatest trophy of all time." And they just looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" Yes, but it is worth noting. The only thing I'll say about this game, I'm feeling really good about this game. Unfortunately, Michigan
State
had a great.
Yes.
But this game is on Friday night, and that caught me off guard because I forgot to check the schedule, and we were getting plans ready for Thanksgiving week, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we can do some fun stuff on Friday night." Totally forgetting that this game got moved because of the media rights deal. Got moved to Friday night. This game is normally at 3:30 on Saturday. So it's now at 7:30, I think 7:30 Eastern on Friday night. So Penn State fans, don't forget that this game got moved. And if you're just a general college football fan, go watch this game anyway, because, or at least like turn it on for the fourth quarter so you can watch the players try to carry this damn trophy across the field, because not only is it ugly, it's heavy as heck. It's like a huge like podium that they have to carry, and it takes like 4 guys to carry it across the field. So
it's like please go coordinated effort. It's like, okay, you two, you get the front, you get the back, and then we can try not to drop it on somebody's head.
Yeah, it's just glorious all the way around. So please watch the fourth quarter, watch the end of that game so you can watch my Nittany Lions carry that glorious trophy down the field in East Lansing.
It is always Friday. Will always be a good day to beat a team from Michigan. Carla, the reason you will be getting a replica Heroes trophy for Christmas rather than a replica Land Grant trophy is that a replica Land Grant trophy is not available at rivalrytrophy.com. I'm very sorry to be the one to tell you about that. If it had been, I'm not sure I would have brought this up during the show, and I would have just bought one for you.
I think we should make that like a secondary Bowlapalooza thing.
Oh my!
Build your best Land Grant trophy impersonation and bring it for Bowlapalooza. Like, grab random stuff around your house and like make a Land Grant trophy.
You may be onto something here. You may get AJ's kids to build Land Grant trophies. I want to see what they do. That would be. We got to remember, we got to bring this up when AJ's going to be on the show next week for championship week.
Yes.
1 week.
Replica Land Grant trophy competition would be
1 week, kids. Build us a Land Grant trophy. We have games that were actually. Yes, go ahead, Wes.
So we should make it a social media contest.
Oh my God.
Build us your best Land Grant trophy. Send us a picture. Tag it. CNC show. And we'll share them.
I like this idea. I really do. This is something we will talk about this in the next day or two. We have, Carla, there are 4 games that we're really interested in an official sense. They are consequential. They may not all turn out to be great games, but these are rivalry games, so maybe they will. You don't know. That schedule starts at 8:30 p.m. on Friday when Carla will be watching the Land Grant Trophy game.
I will.
The Civil War, number 11, Oregon State at number 6, Oregon. The Ducks are favored by 13.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a truly fun 62.5. Carla, what do you think?
The Beavs almost did it last week, right? I mean, we just talked about that.
And they were so close.
They were so close, and they snagged momentum in a super soggy game in the third quarter. They held the ball in the third quarter for like almost 10 minutes, which was absolutely crazy. And that like shifted momentum in the game because they were trailing pretty big at the half.
Yeah.
So they had that massive drive in the third quarter, scored 7 off of that, and then pulled within 2 early in the fourth. And it looked like things were going to get real spicy. And then Oregon State had the ball and a chance to drive for the win, which is all you want in a game like that. And they just couldn't get that last drive together. And so now after that emotional game, because that was a huge emotional game, playing that game at home, last Pac-12 game being played in that stadium.
Right.
And to be that close to potentially knocking Washington off. Now the Beavs have to pack up for another emotional game on a short week to play a team equally as dangerous as Washington. And that's a huge ask, right? Yeah. The Ducks handled Arizona State pretty easily last weekend, and they've got a trip to the Pac-12 title game on the line with this.
Yes.
Because they have to win. If they win, they're in, and we will get a rematch with Washington, and that game is going to be spectacular if that happens. But here's a twist. If Oregon loses this game, if Oregon State wins and Arizona wins, Arizona goes to the Pac-12 title game.
Really?
So
I had not looked at that far. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so Arizona is rooting for Oregon State. If you are rooting for chaos in the Pac-12, you are rooting for the Beavs here, because even though Oregon's going to end up with a good bowl game and the whole bit, they could get knocked out of the title game because Arizona's playing Arizona State in the Territorial Cup. Like that's not going to be a problem, right? Like Arizona's going to steamroll Arizona State. So you can bank on that. If Oregon State can find a way to win this game, they will send Arizona to the Pac-12 title game. So I think the Beavs, knowing that they could play spoiler in their last Pac-12 game,
okay,
they're going to put up one hell of a fight here. Even though they're tired, they're going to put up one hell of a fight. But I also think the fact of playing Washington and Oregon in consecutive weeks with the latter game on the road is going to take a toll here. Oregon's going to win this game in a super close, really fun rivalry game. This would be a great, like, real game to kind of get rivalry week going. So I almost did an Elmer Fudd there. Ducks win, but this game's going to be fun.
That is why we embrace Wivalwy week. It's too hard not to say. I was super impressed with the Beavers last weekend. The weather suited their game, but they didn't shy away from DJ throwing the ball. He actually had more passing yards than Michael Penix Jr. did, by the way. The emotions involved with this, and I brought this up a week ago with Oregon State playing Washington, and you have this big game against the teams that are leaving. It had to sting if the Oregon State players noticed the Washington fan in the stands last weekend waving a Big Ten flag.
Yeah.
I just don't know that they have enough. The Ducks are beasts. It is a really good team. One of the most complete teams in college football, if not the most. They're playing at home. They're playing at Outson. Oregon's going to win this game. Don't click away from it if it's tight in the fourth quarter, because then you don't know what's going to happen. But this should be a win for the Ducks in the Civil War. At 4 p.m. on Saturday, the Apple Cup. Washington State at number 5. Washington, the Huskies are favored by 16.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a really, really fun 68.5 points. Carla, what do you think?
This is a Wazoo team that initially looked dangerous early in the season, right? They knocked off Oregon State. Everyone's like, whoa, maybe Wazoo's got it this year. And they've lost 6 of their last 7.
Yeah.
But that being said, Washington can't slack off here, even though they've already punched their trip to the title game for the conference, because Wazoo will be ready to play in this game because of the same reason we just talked about with Oregon State. Wazoo is the other member of the Pac-2. And so they have something to play for here, right? It's a rivalry game. And what I thought was really interesting, statistically, these teams look much more even on paper than they do on the field. So is Wazoo capable of this? I think they are. I think they're capable of it. Cam Ward has really impressive numbers as Wazoo's quarterback. The problem is Cam Ward is pretty much the extent of the Cougar offense. There's no ground game to speak of. And that's a one-dimensional offense like that is just not going to work. Washington, not spectacular on defense, but good enough on defense. They've had, again, like I said last week, they've flashed moments of defensive brilliance. And I do still think Michael Penix Jr. and the Huskies still feel like they've got unfinished business.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win this game. They should be ready to play, and should win the Apple Cup fairly convincingly, but don't be surprised if this game is a little spicy at the beginning. I think Wazoo can keep it interesting in the first half, but Washington is the better team here. They should win this game.
The great news here is that there is an agreement, and this was AJ tipped us off to this in our text thread today. There's an agreement to continue this game for the next 5 years, even after the Pac-12 is no more. The better news for Washington State is that this is the last year that they will have to look at Michael Penix Jr. playing for the Huskies.
That's so true.
The not so good news for the Cougs, he's playing on Saturday. Huskies win. Memo to the Ducks and the Beavers: make it work, guys. It is possible. The Civil War does not have to end this year. Figure something out, and hopefully we'll be talking about this that game again, as well as this game during rivalry week next year.
Yes. And kudos to the schools from Washington for getting that done.
Absolutely. Huge. It's fantastic.
That's huge. So kudos.
7 p.m. on Saturday. I don't know. Does this game have a name? Does it have a trophy? Does it anything? Number 4, Florida State. If only we knew like a Florida graduate. And I'm not just making fun of you. My oldest nephew is a Florida graduate. And my niece is a Florida State student. So I should try to poke at them and do a bet or something. That's interesting. It had not occurred to me. Anyway, this is number 4 Florida State at Florida in the Schwamp. The Seminoles are favored by 6.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a not so fun 50.5. This game has a whole different complexion than it did at this point a week ago.
Yeah, it does. First, let me go back to your first point.
Please do.
It is called the Sunshine Showdown.
The Sunshine Showdown. So they're playing it at night. Okay.
At night. Yep. Okay. Kansas State already took that name. Okay. Anywho. Yeah. So
all right.
This game
so what do you think?
This game wasn't on my radar at all until last weekend. Because this suddenly, on both sides of the ball, is a very different situation, as you just mentioned. Florida State is an incredibly different team without Jordan Travis.
Right.
That is a big deal. That is a really, really, really big deal. Not just for this game, but the repercussions now that we know for sure, which, I mean, if you saw the injury, it was catastrophic. It was, don't go find it. Don't do that to yourself. And you feel awful for him. You feel absolutely awful for him. I hope that as we get more news, because again, we're recording this early in the week, as we get more news that like he will be able to continue on to the next level. I hope that's still going to be true. But because he was going to require some major surgery there, but he's confirmed, and everybody, as was to be expected, that his career is over at Florida State. And so now we get to meet Tate Rodemaker, who came in for him and did an admirable job. But here's the thing. Jordan Travis was like a 6th-year quarterback, right? He's been the starter at Florida State for a really, really, really long time.
2 or 3 decades.
Has been the backup.
2 or 3 decades. Yes.
Yeah, decades. Yeah. Rodemaker's been the backup for 4 seasons. Right. So yeah, he's been there, but Travis has been the guy. And so we don't know what this Florida State offense is going to look like. And so initially when this all happened, I was like, oh, wow. Could Florida actually win this game? And then Graham Mertz got hurt.
Whoops.
So on the Florida side of the ball, Graham Mertz broke his collarbone. Or no, I'm sorry. It was a collarbone injury. They said it wasn't fully broken. Okay. But he's out for this game. And so they're going to start again. We have to remember this Florida team is really, really young. And so as much as everybody is going after the Gators for, potentially missing a bowl game this year, they're starting like all freshmen and sophomores.
Right.
So give this team a little bit of time. I think they're going to be back to where they used to be in a couple of years. Now that's also true with their quarterback, because their backup is a redshirt freshman named Max Brown, who only saw limited time because Mertz's injury came late in the game. Whereas Travis's injury came, unfortunately, pretty early in the game. So here we are. I don't know if I've ever done this before, but let's call this the week 13. We have no idea game. Because
a great point. Yes.
Because we don't know. Like, we don't know. We know that Florida State, we know that Florida can be a really dangerous team at home in the Swamp. Will it be less so without Mertz? I don't know. And this is not just a rivalry game. The Gators need a win here to be bowl eligible.
Yes. Yes.
We also know that Florida State has been on the ropes a number of times this season. Can Rodemaker put together enough offense to avoid the potential upset? Probably, but I don't know, right? I think the bigger question here is whether this Florida State team without Travis can pass the eyeball test, even if the Noles win this game. And obviously, the conference title game looks completely different too, but that's a conversation for next week. Should the Noles win here? Yes, but the mystery factor here has my spidey senses up. I'm going to be watching this game anyways because I married a Florida grad. But I'm actually going to be intrigued watching this game to see how this all plays out on the field. Noles should win, but let's pay attention and see how they look. Okay.
A question for you that kind of goes outside of the scope of this game in particular. You are a member of the CFP committee. And you're evaluating teams every week and coming up with a new set of rankings. Do you downgrade Florida State because Jordan Travis is done for the year?
Not until I see them play Florida, right? Like that's why I think this game is important. I think this week you leave them where they are because they did what they were supposed to do and beat South Alabama, even though that game was pretty interesting in the first quarter. But they came around and they did what they were supposed to do. Let's watch them play another Power 5 opponent. Even though it's a Power 5 opponent that's not what it should be, right? If Florida hangs around late in this game, or we see a much lesser offensive output from Florida State, and Washington dominates the Apple Cup,
right?
I think the committee has to have that conversation.
Okay.
The other thing is, this is also going to sort itself out.
Yes.
It's also going to sort itself all out.
It will. Because
Florida State and Louisville, again, we'll talk about this game next week. That's a completely different game without Jordan Mertz. Or Jordan Travis. I'm sorry. I got my two quarterbacks mixed up. Without
yes,
Jordan
Travis. It just occurred. Yes.
That's a completely different game. Louisville, and we'll talk about this next week. I think Louisville can win that game. And if that's the case, then that solves that problem. And if we get Washington, Oregon in the Pac-12 title game, that's going to solve that problem.
That one gets
and we get Michigan, Ohio State this week, that's going to solve that problem. I hate to say it, guys. Keep track of Bama.
I know.
Keep track of Bama. Here we go. This was exactly the chaos that Bama needed to slip back in there. And here we are. We are. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, if I'm on the committee, I'm not downgrading them in tomorrow's rankings, but I'm definitely paying attention to this game in the Swamp.
Okay. The thing I look at it is I think about this game. Florida State still has all the tools it had available to it. Does it have someone to distribute the ball? I think we'll find out. A key for this might be Trevor Etienne, the Florida's running back. Very, very good. You are perhaps familiar with his older brother Travis, who won national titles at Georgia and is now a productive player in the NFL. If for some reason Florida State isn't able to defend Florida's running game, and you have to think the Gators are going to lean on that pretty heavily. in a battle of backup quarterbacks, Florida is definitely at a disadvantage here because the kid has not played, and
Right.
it only has a year in the program, as opposed to 4 or however many that Travis's backup has. But broadly, I mean, you have an experienced, talented group with Florida State. You have a talented but young and inconsistent group at Florida. This should be a win for the Gators. This should be a win for the Seminoles. But if again, turn this on and turn on and check the score in the fourth quarter. If it's tight, that could be something that you will want to turn on and check out for the end, because that's when it could get interesting.
Yep.
You guys may have noticed we've gone out of order. Actually, that we have not yet gone out of order. We're going to do that right now. Big Nude, Fox. I love that this game is just called The Game. Just that's it. The Game. Ohio State visiting Michigan. Michigan right now, Michigan Open is a 4-point favorite as of 10:53 p.m. on Monday night. They are now down to 3.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a number that only a Big Ten fan could love, 46.5 points. Carla, what do you think?
So I know you have a lot to say about this one, so I'm going to keep my thoughts here pretty short.
A little bit.
So I really think, and this is the outsider looking in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really think that a good deal of this game will come down to Ohio State's defensive line and its ability to contain Blake Corum in the Michigan ground game.
Mm-hmm.
Because that ground game has really been the difference for the Wolverines the last 2 weeks.
Exactly.
The other thing worth noting, as we all saw, was Michigan's near collapse defensively in the second half last week against Maryland. Right. That to me, and maybe this is me like still bitter about sitting here at 10-2, right? That to me was a sign of a team that's playing with too much confidence. Mm-hmm. We saw some of that last year in the playoff semifinal against TCU, right? This is a team that can at times sit back because they believe they can't lose. Mm-hmm. Now, my fear here is that Maryland's near miss has brought Michigan back to its senses. Mm-hmm. That's my fear. Mm-hmm. But they had the same post-game antics last week as we saw in Happy Valley the week prior, so I'm not totally sure about that. For your Bucks, Ohio State has to run the football, and you've done a nice job of that the last couple of weeks. It also has to, again, exploit the benefit of Marv. It has to win in the trenches, which is a tough ask of any team against these Michigan lines, yes, and especially on the road. But as someone who loves college football, mm-hmm, this is a really easy game for me to pick a side on. Okay. And because I'm a Penn State fan,
yes,
and Dad, I'm not actually going to say it. For those of you not watching, Crappy, you're going to have to read my sign.
Go. But it says H. I will simply do this. Oh, thank you, Carla.
Yes. I will never utter it.
Yeah, I totally understand and I appreciate that. When I was watching Michigan and Maryland toward the end of that game, and when it was clear that Michigan was going to win, I posted on Threads just a little thing, one word. It said "mortable." You guys know what that means by now, but with the M replaced with a big red X, as we do during this week. And that was I thought that as well with Penn State. I think the bigger problems with that game were and I hate to say this, largely self-inflicted by Penn State's coaching staff.
Yep.
That was a tighter game than one would think from the final score, and I feel like they are beatable. Last two games, Michigan hasn't been able to throw the football. Does that matter? I think it does. In their last two wins against Ohio State, they've gashed us with big plays. Not all pass plays, but their passing game has hit for some very big gains and a couple long touchdowns. Those may or may not be available to them this time. And Ohio State is much better at defending, not giving up long plays like that. Michigan's run game is brutally efficient, but that plays in Ohio State's strength. Ohio State's giving up just 108 rushing yards per game. And even if Michigan does try to throw its way to a win, Ohio State has the best pass defense in the country in terms of yardage per game. And they're not, as I said, they're not giving up big plays as they did in the first season that Jim Knowles installed his offense in Columbus. Other side of the ball, Michigan has the best scoring defense in the country, the second best passing defense, and a top 10 rushing defense. Whew. That is a tough thing to challenge. They're going to try to rattle Kyle McCord, who occasionally still looks like he's a first-year starter at quarterback. The difference, Carla, you heard me say this before our game, depth on the edges. Michigan has not seen a wide receiver core like Ohio State's, and they have not seen a player like Marv Harrison Jr. They haven't seen a tight end like Cave Stover. They haven't seen a second and third and fourth receivers like Emeka Egbuka, and the guys behind him. If they get too caught up with trying to stop the pass, and that is something that they're going to have to deal with. I mentioned, Minnesota's plan was to have a safety and a quarterback following Marv every single play. If they have a safety set up on the edge, Trey Henderson's going to gash you. He's been healthy for like 4 games this season, and he's been the difference maker in those games, from Notre Dame until the last 2 weeks. One other thing, they haven't played against a coach who adjusts like Ryan Day does at halftime, at least not when they knew what was coming, because they knew the signs ahead of time. And I'm not saying that to make fun of Michigan or make fun of the situation, but that's a real thing. That is a real thing. And if you go back to the TCU coaches saying, we knew ahead of time that Michigan steals signs, so we changed things up. How did that game turn out? Circumstantial evidence, sure, but I think it's a real thing. And then there's this. Hail to the victims. The team up north will play their victim card all week long, but karma will catch up with Michigan. It'll catch up with Jim Harbaugh sometime early next year via the NCAA. The on-field karma will catch them on Saturday when Ohio State beats them at home and knocks them out of the playoff. And that will be the sweetest game in this series in a very, very long time. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube or the show's Facebook page. And for the first time, it's not for the first time. You guys know this already. Go subscribe to the Substack. If you haven't, just do it, please. Substack. We're there. All the stuff is there. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back next week to see exactly how wrong we were, except Carla and I will not be wrong about that last game. Carla, do you have any final thoughts?
Just one quick game, because I have to mention them closing out their regular season.
Please do.
And that is my Middle Blue Raiders closing their season on the road at Sam Houston State. They're favored in that game. That game is at noon Eastern on Saturday on ESPN Plus. I was in the beer garden at Floyd Stadium for part of the first half on Saturday, mostly to go watch my band seniors graduate and have their senior day, which was nice. So the the Raiders have pulled it back together after, essentially losing their bowl eligibility to a team we've talked a lot about today, New Mexico State. So that they have the opportunity here to finish the season 5-7. Which after, having a couple of tough losses, that's really all you could ask for, to finish with 3 straight wins to round out the season. So go finish strong, Blue Raiders. We're rooting for you. But yeah, there's so much good football this weekend. Like, just listen to everything AJ said, watch all of those games. Just watch as much college football as you can this weekend, because this is one of the best weekends of the year. Get you multiple screens, except for noon on Saturday, and there's only a game there that you want to watch, because it's it will be a good one. Perhaps not exciting, but a good one, and it's consequential. So it's basically a playoff elimination game, I think, is how it's going to work out. And that's my thought. Beat Michigan, beat Michigan, beat Michigan, beat Michigan. That's my only thought. Boys and girls, we appreciate you being here as always. Carla, I'm getting ahead of myself. AJ, thank you for everything you've done for this regular season. It's been fantastic as always, and I am stoked to have you joining us for Championship Week show, which will be next week. Yes. Carla, this is 12 years? This is 12 years. We finished our 12th regular season. We have. That's crazy. That's insane. We're not that old. I am. But thank you. It's been spectacular. I see no reason why we should stop, because I'm enjoying this as much as I ever have, I'm looking forward to Championship Week and Bowlapalooza and the stuff that comes after that. So thank you very much. And now, boys and girls, thank you for everything that you do for the show, watching, reading, listening, all of that great stuff. Enjoy a long football weekend, as we will. And guys, we will be back here next week for Championship Week. Don't want to miss it. Be sure to come back then. Nope. Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend. Cheers. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, people.